Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about the responses to the recent terror attacks that have been happening, most prominently the Manchester attack that only happened last week. I don't really want to talk about the attack specifically. What I do want to talk about is the attitudes that once again are filling the news, both on and filling the both ends of the political spectrum to one extent or another. And kind of the takeaway from it, because the first thing is that obviously this was a terror attack of a sort, whether it was a lone crazy person who has then had uh, his well, the attack has then been taken has then been kind of claimed by an outside body, as ISIS has, or whether or not it was orchestrated between that organization and this individual prior. One way or another, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things anymore, considering that responsibility has been taken, and that's again a thing that I could talk about forever on how they are going to continue to do this, whether it is their fault or not. So there's that. But the thing that bothers me the most is the response, and mostly because we can have people do things to us, but we only control our own response. We control our own action. We can't let that slip away and let other people, be it terrorist organizations or be it people that are just misguided. You can't let those people take control of it, because once you let them, then you're not getting control of it back. You're not going to be able to then change course easily afterwards. And so the things that I've been seeing an awful lot of issues on both sides of this. And so the thing that kind of stands out to me first off is on the more progressive side of things. You've got a huge influx again of not all Muslims, or not all of this type of people, not all of those types of people, and that's fine. I But the thing that bugs me is not necessarily that they're saying it, or the fact that so much of that end of political media is flooded with it, and it seems to kind of detract from the actual situation that people have now found themselves in the aftermath, where they're missing loved ones, or they're having to deal with entirely new situations that they weren't prepared for as a result. And trying to get help and support for those people, having that be removed just due to this huge explosion of sound of not all this, not all that. That kind of bugs me. Where you have kind of the organized religious element of the faith that is being criticized in this instance, having them already make a statement and go, we disavow this. As much as even that, in a way, I feel is an unnecessary thing. It's something that they are doing for kind of remaining up front, trying to demonstrate that they aren't associated with these things. It's a thing that they have to do in the current political climate, especially within this country, where there is an awful lot of to and fro. But I feel like it that should be enough, and the collectives of other people yelling not all this, not all that, does detract from the seriousness of the situation on the people that were actually affected. And that bothers me. I'd much prefer to see more people talking about how we can either make sure that this doesn't happen again in the same kind of way, or making sure that the families that have been affected by this horrific event are helped, are catered for, are supported. Which way they need it. I'd much prefer to see more discussion on that from the side that arguably is doing more to try and look out for other people, in the more extreme stretch of it, but it's still, I feel like it's looking in the wrong place for what it's trying to do. And then on the other end, though, you're literally having certain individuals calling basically for war, and like that just, I can't believe that. That's such a stupid thing to say, such a stupid thing to come out with, where you've got individuals literally saying the biggest solution to this would be a renewed war on terror. It's like, the last one didn't go so well. In fact, it encouraged more of this over time. And then the war on terror, what are you going to do? Are you suggesting that you go out and just bomb some more places and kill 3-4 times as many people as were killed in this attack, if not more, just for the sake of it? And so you drive more people into the recruitment lines for the supposed collective that kind of orchestrated this attack? Is that really what you're suggesting? Because that seems incredibly short-sighted, overly emotive, and incredibly stupid. And so, you've got one side almost drowning out what needs to be addressed with good intentions, and you've got the other side kind of drowning stuff out with aggression and hatred and fear. And then you've got, like, moving in a little bit, you've got the people that I've seen the last few days reposting things like, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim. And I don't understand how you can make such a suggestion, considering that you have terrorists of all walks of life, all races, all religions, all nationalities, to one extent or another. Yeah, you have school shootings almost every week in the States. You have people in you have Buddhist individuals in Tibet who are setting themselves on fire and potentially as a result causing quite substantial damage to themselves and those around them, just to protest the Chinese occupation. And as a result, yeah, sure, I may very well agree with elements of the kind of Tibetan perspective, but they're still essentially committing an act of terror. Yeah, they are disrupting in an overt way that can potentially cause damage and causes upset, especially emotional fear-based responses. And so you've got them of all walks of life. But so firstly, that statement is ridiculous in and of itself. But furthermore, like, I don't feel that that's in any way constructive or helpful to the situation. Like, you don't want these attacks to happen. You don't want kind of anyone to get hurt. And yet, just by what you're saying, you're creating a further division. Stop it. Surely there are 2 or 3 big things here that stand out to me. I say 2 or 3 because I'm just going to reel them off, and I might add one, who knows. But the first thing that really stands out to me is that, when you've got a force that's coming in, that's imposing on you, that's attacking, that's being aggressive, then there's going to potentially be fear. But then when you've got a leader and a government or a ruling body that are going, we won't be afraid, we'll be stronger, but then demonstrate that they are afraid, and demonstrate and create specific weaknesses and greater instability in various ways through their other actions. And the leader of an attacking force, the greatest ally they have is an incompetent leader of their opposition. And that's what we've got. That's what we are going to continue to have under, at the very least, the current regime. And so as a result, current government and their actions have in no way helped any of this situation, and they are only ever aiding those that would harm us through the instability that they cause, through the divisions that they cause, through the stupid things that they do, through the fact that they aren't willing to support some of the most vulnerable people in their communities. Those cause ripples, and those ripples cause greater instability, greater distrust, greater hatred, and that then further allows people that are already potentially easily influenced and already upset and angry to then take up a cause that allows them to supposedly have some power to fight back against the thing that has hurt them. You know, there's that which is troubling and taxing. But then the next thing that stands out is that with things like marches in support, things like minute silences, and things like the running scared of this outside threat that is going on in regards to people's sudden reactions, people's negative reactions, people saying that we need more war, that we need more division, and so on and so forth. You know, it stands out as completely unhelpful and demonstrating that we have these weaknesses, and look here, this is where they are. You know, you all you need is one other person to walk into that crowd that are there to support the victims of an event, of one of these horrific events, and that person walks in with a bomb, and then you've got another horrific event with even more casualties. You know, you show your support, fine, send your messages of empathy and sympathy, but at the same time, like, going on a big walk with hundreds of other people, or actively taking a minute's silence where you are shutting down your operations even for a minute. You know, how long did it take that bomb to go off? Less, seconds, and lives were ruined. The minute silences where potentially you're allowing for distraction, you're allowing for people to shut down and stop working. You know, it allows, it's a demonstrable weakness that, if taken advantage of, could very well be or have been, another detrimental effect. The best way to deal with an enemy is to demonstrate that their blows against you can be ignored, that they have no power over you, and yet we continually demonstrate that they have an effect, that they get a rise out of us in one way or another, be it positive or negative. We continue to demonstrate that every time something like this happens. You know, we can take care of the people that were affected. We can deal with the fallout. We can try and make the situation easier on those that are having to suffer through it. What we don't need to do is make as much noise about how that we're strong and we're unified and we're not going to have any of this. And as we do that, the lady doth protest too much. We're just demonstrating that we are weakened by it, that we are being affected by what they're doing, and it's only going to be a matter of time until things like this get to such a point that we're going to run into a brick wall, and we're going to have to start admitting that we're afraid. We're going to have to start admitting that we're at their mercy to an extent. And the way to stop doing that is to stop the things that are allowing the propagation of these thoughts and feelings. You need to the way to stop the fear is is taking control of it all, and fielding a huge number of extra people on the streets with guns. Letting the military out to assist the police when most of it seems to be in kind of either very small amounts or very spread out over a large area. Those extra bodies aren't likely to necessarily do all that much. Even those extra bodies on the streets, they're not going to have any more ability to see or find or protect than the people that were already there in the first place. one random individual walking out of a crowd or walking into a crowd and causing a huge amount of damage isn't going to be stopped by an extra 1,000 bodies spread out across miles and miles of land. You know, we need to start tackling this at the core, the root of all of these things, and that comes down to, again, as I've said in numerous videos on all kinds of topics in the past, it comes down to conversation, it comes down to education, it comes down to finding those people who are being pulled in to these situations from our population, yeah, where they're either easily they're harboring distrust or hatred, they're being kind of dragged into these damaging ideologies that then inform the violence that they are committing. You know, those people are suggestible, they're gullible, they may very well be very foolish in various different ways, but the way, again, to deal with those kind of individuals is, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not saying the short term if you catch one, but in the grand scheme of things, to make sure that they don't continue to replenish their numbers, so that when you take one down or when one blows himself up or whatever else, they aren't just replaced by two more. You know, the way to deal with that is through education, is through getting those people to see the world in a much wider perspective. You know, and like, there's not one ideology that's at fault, there's not one kind of way of working that is causing like damage any more than any of the others here. But the thing to stand out is, unless you have the populace that, as I said in my last video, can be incredibly strong, can do an incredibly good job at looking out for people within their community, looking out for people in their population, looking out for people in their country as a genuinely patriotic individual, actually taking action to better the lives of those around you. You know, you don't have kind of to be on the attack or on the defense. You can just be open and you can discuss. It's not too hard to get a discussion going on these things, and listening out to both the positive and the negative of all sides to try and achieve some kind of consensus. But like, it's a heavy topic. It's one that I wanted to take the weight on of to discuss here in regards to how to react to this stuff. And I feel like not overreacting, admitting that the kind of, we are in a tough spot, but then we're looking at the running of the entire kind of mechanism that these people have tried to interrupt, yeah, and making sure that doesn't happen, making sure that we remain strong and functional through kind of the appropriate responses. Yeah, sending messages of empathy and sympathy, that's fine, but not going on a large march that then potentially makes it a target. You know, not saying that we will continually be strong and stable, or that we need war, because that again is just pulling out this very evident thing that someone has hurt us, and we're just making a lot of noise to try and cover up the fact that we're hurt. You know, it's a horrible thing that's happened. It's horrific in so many different ways, and yet the way that, again, we've dealt with it is we've split between kind of not really listening or wanting to attack the thing that's hurt us. And it's like, the people that have taken responsibility for this are half the world away, and they probably weren't, you know, at most they were involved through kind of online communications. But trying to stem communications, trying to overly police people is going to drive people towards the recruitment side of this from the kind of ISIS side as anything else is. You know, we need to take a measured response that's somewhere between controlling the situation and allowing the people to be good people. You know, it's tough, and again, I don't think we're going to see an end to the grand run of this kind of stuff for a while. You know, these conflicts, these people being hurt. You know, I don't think we're going to see that for a while, which sucks. But I think that the way that we need to stop it is, again, by looking at education, by looking at broadening horizons and making better connections with people that we are around, and not throwing our lot in with war or with counter-aggression, because you know, any kind of attack is always going to just prompt a counter-attack. You know, the way to withstand this stuff is to be strong and solid and roll with the punches and not let the other person take you down permanently. You know, outlast the enemy, take on the resilience and the strength and responsibility for ourselves that allows us to endure whatever they throw at us. You know, exerting ourselves to start another war, or to reinvest in war or anything like that isn't going to be helpful, and neither is causing so much white noise around the issue that the people who are actually affected kind of don't get help and the things that they need. But anyway, I know that I've just been rambling, and I'm sure the some of what I said has maybe not come out as clearly as I would have liked. But you know, either way, guys, tell me what you guys think. You know, the short-term prospects of this, the short-term effect of this, and the responses that have happened. You know, let me know what your thoughts are on them. You know, do you think it's necessary to say not all the time? Do you feel that reinvesting in a huge war on terror that was completely ineffective last time would be a good thing? You know, do you agree with me that the education and discussion and development of those, based on the kind of patriotic values and things that are being espoused but not being acted on by an awful lot of people, you know, do you feel that allowing them to get a rise out of us in the form of even positive things like marches for support or whatever else, you know, do you feel like those demonstrate a weakness? You know, let me know what you guys think. It's a really tough set of things to talk about, but I wanted to, just because the responses have been so vitriolic, especially on the side that are calling for war or calling for displacement, policing, registration of people who just happen to have a certain faith, or a certain colour skin in some cases. You know, it's really troubling. It's really, like, I worry where we're headed with some of the stuff that's being said and so on. You know, as much as it's not necessarily being followed up on by actions, like it worries me, because there's a good chance that it could be followed up on by actions, considering, you know, our past track record with kind of wars on terror and stuff like that. But anyway, as said, please let me know what you guys think. I'm sorry for rambling so much, and you know, I hope that this at the very least gave you some food for thought. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you found this at all interesting, then please drop me a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.